Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lent. My guest today is John Chelminiak. He is with Waste Management in Kirkland, and he's going to tell us about our waste management, recycling, and what they do for our community. Stay with us. Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lent. I have a special guest today that is not one of our employees, but his name is John Chelminiak. He is with Waste Management, and we're going to learn about what they do for the city and the partnership that we've developed for several decades. Welcome, John.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Mayor.
And we first want to learn a little bit about you personally.
Okay.
So where did you grow up?
So I was born in West Seattle and grew up there. Then have lived on the east side of the lake since the 80s. And I live in Bellevue. Our offices for waste management are in Kirkland. So I'm actually one of those very lucky people who has about a 5-mile commute, and I feel very good.
You are very lucky on that side. Working for, I know that's the regional office for waste management, and you have quite a large territory. So what do you cover?
So I cover all of Washington State, actually, but out of the office there, we take care of Washington State, Northern Idaho, Oregon, and British Columbia. We also work with some operations up in Alaska as well. And you're actually probably the largest, if not one of the largest, waste collectors in the United States. Yeah, so we like to think of ourselves as an environmental solutions provider, and we have about 41,000 employees in North America. So that's it's Canada and the United States.
Wow, that is very, very nice. I want to tell the audience a little bit about how we even got together, the city, the county, and waste management. Back in the 60s, if any of you long-time residents remember Don Lindgren, he was kind of the garbage empire, or he developed that from the 60s, and he had a landfill over by the airport. He bought a dump truck in '67, and then when he retired in about 1993, he sold to another company, and they were kind of merging with waste management. I wanted to share with you, as they called it, the upcoming growing waste management before we got into environmental care and feeding. So all of these years we've had that. I believe in Kitsap County, you cover most of the territory. I know that Bainbridge has their own collection and little snippets, but otherwise you're our go-to company.
Well, we appreciate that, and we really do value the partnership that we have with Bremerton and with most of Kitsap County. So we really like calling Bremerton home. While we are this large company, truthfully, everything is run as a small company from our hauling locations. And so, you know, we see ourselves as an integral part of the Bremerton community. And I always think that what we bring to a community is, first of all, being an environmental steward, second, an economic contributor, and third, we want to always be a good community partner.
That's great. That's a good overview for us. I know that you have recently changed out all of your equipment. So those big trucks, instead of having diesel and the smoke that they emit, you've gone to CNG. And tell us a little bit about that investment for your company.
Sure, that has been a very strong commitment for waste management throughout the country. And in fact, we just opened our 100th CNG fueling station, and that one is in Oklahoma City. But this last fall, we converted to natural gas here at what we call the Bremerton district, and that's run down near the Bremerton airport.
Off Bernie White Road.
Exactly. And we have 60 trucks that operate out of there, about 80 employees at the facility. And we're in a phased approach on bringing the CNG trucks online. So we started with 18. We have 23 now, and we're working on a regular basis to bring more in. They emit 15% less greenhouse gas than the older diesel trucks. So it's really a commitment to clean air, and frankly, it's also a good business decision for us. So it kind of matches one of the ethics that we have in the company, which is that saving the environment, doing something good for the environment, is also something that makes sense economically.
Well,
And
I would have to think that Bainbridge Island would jump at the chance to have you be their collector. They really are of all of our cities in the county itself, they're really out ahead of things. They want to protect this environment and for the future of all of us. So I'll put in a good plug for you if we can switch over.
I would appreciate that, always.
You said you have a commitment to the community, and one of the things that we do is we have Beautify Bremerton every September. We have picked a date. It's September 16th. We'll have the information, a little map. It's going to be the same place we had it the last 3 years. And Waste Management has actually provided financial assistance or up to $12,000 on hauling fees. So we work collaborative. You've got 3 or 4 of your staff that are there. You bring out a compactor so we can take all of the yard waste. At one time we collected furniture and mattresses, computers and TVs, everything, and it just was way beyond what we could actually handle in one day to beautify. So we like what we've done. It's at the same location. Tell us, are we the only community, or do you do this in other places?
So this is actually a little unique. The fact that it's aimed specifically at yard waste and yard debris. We do community cleanups in a number of places. We have recycle events that go on, and sometimes we bring partners in for those. But this is a really unique community event that you have here, and it's what it does, and it's that community building. It really helps build community because, as we were talking, you have a lot of volunteers who come in and do work.
500.
Yes. Then I saw that some of the sailors from the Stennis participated last year.
Yes.
And that's a wonderful thing. It's also that connection with the military is something that's important for us, and one of the reasons we like being here in the Bremerton area, because we really like employing veterans.
You've got a
at our
workforce that's,
company.
as they separate from the service, you can snatch them up and have them as your employees as well.
Exactly, and I think it's 1 out of every 14 employees is a military vet at our company, and we've been recognized as a great place for veterans to work, and we've been recognized for our recruitment of veterans. But the people who have come out of the military bring some traits that are really important to our company, and they're important to the job that we do. They bring leadership skills. They understand the importance of safety because that's been drilled into them constantly in the military. And they're team members. They do great teamwork. And it takes a lot of logistics and a lot of people just to get out there and go pick up that waste. And recycling. It's not just your driver. There's a whole team. There's a whole set of electronics that are behind that. But also pay attention to your driver because they're great people, and they always talk about the kids who come out to greet them, and they love to watch them take the cart up. And so those drivers are really important, and they're also it's a unique business because 1 day a week, if you think about this, 1 day a week they're driving by almost everyone's home in a city. So their eyes are out for things that change.
Extra set of eyes.
Extra set of eyes. We do training. We could probably do that here with in the Bremerton area again, called Waste Watch, and we will bring local police in. They'll work with our drivers about what to watch for. But the drivers are also see changes in the community and changes in their customers. They love to get to know their customers. So yeah, make sure you greet your driver.
That's great. It's kind of like the paper boy. Used to be. Now that we've got so much on the social media, a lot of people just want to have it instantly and go on the blogs. My husband and I still like that newspaper, but we recycle.
I was going to say, if you've got that newspaper, make sure to recycle it. Put it in the recycle cart.
We do. Tell us a typical day for a driver. So from the time that I know they have routes, so again, they're very familiar with the neighborhood. From the time that they have collected on the route and all of that waste is in the container. Now they're driving back to the industrial center, the transfer station. What happens with that that's in their truck?
So what happens with what is in the truck, let's talk about the waste to begin with. So that waste will go to the transfer station, and which again, out in that the Bremer district. The transfer station, then, I know that there's some recycling that is done there. They do take a look to try to pull some items out of the waste, but then that goes onto a train, and that train eventually goes to Arlington, Oregon, which is just over. It's in about the middle of Oregon, but just right on the other side of the Columbia River. So. And it goes by train there. That is the Columbia Ridge landfill. It is a very large landfill. We've got over 140 years of capacity still left there. But it arrives by train, then it goes up. We actually have a large intermodal facility that's located on site there. They truck that, take the cans off of the train, truck that up to the face of the landfill, and that's where it goes. It gets dumped onto the face of the landfill, gets compacted, gets covered, very environmentally secure.
Right.
Your recycling,
Yes.
that ends up being trucked down to a facility in Tacoma called JMK, and we have just completely redone JMK in terms of processing your recycling. You know, people, again, they put the newspaper in and they think it comes back to them the next day as a newspaper. There's a lot of processing that has to go on with that. Some of that human, but a lot of it is mechanical.
Robotic?
Some robotic, but it's
Technology
a technology that works. So the first step, and there's a great video on the WMNorthwest.com website about the Cascade Recycling Center, which is located in Woodinville, but it's very similar to JMK. The first step is there are these discs that are turning, and they're a cardboard surfer. And what it does is it lifts the cardboard up, surfs it over the top of the rest of the recyclables that are on the conveyor belt, and moves the cardboard off into one direction. Then we take others, get the paper out. One of the ones that I really like, there's a section of it that I just like watching it. There's a section that has a little electronic eddy current in it. Well, that's going to take the metal. And what that does is that current just pops that metal can off of the conveyor belt and down into the bin where it will eventually get baled. And then there's also an optical sorter. So this is a laser that is looking out at everything that's going along the conveyor belt, and it is tuned to spot plastic bottles. And so when that laser hits a plastic bottle, it tells something that's right next to it just to have this puff of air, and that blows the plastic bottle out of the way, down into a bin where, again, it all gets bundled together.
That would
and
be
recycled.
something to see.
It's really neat. And you can take a look at it. It's about a 5-minute video on our web.
Great.
And it's fascinating to see.
Well, we're glad. In Kitsap County, we do not have one landfill. So you can see we are we're attuned to the environment. So with all of that said, we have a code in the city, and we require that every person that lives here, whether you're a renter or a homeowner, that you sign up for garbage collection. We, again, want to take and make sure that we have a quality of life in neighborhoods that are clean and neat and safe. Having said that, we found that at one time a couple of years ago is that there was a large number of our residents, and it was sad for both of us, is that they were not paying their bill. Now, whether they were renters or someone that was going through a hardship and having a house foreclosed, but you were not getting paid for pickup. We realized that would not be sustainable for you, and we have this contract. So last year we said without payment there would be no garbage collection. I have noticed just this year in 2017, more people are now re-signing up. It's easier and it's more convenient for them to pay for that pickup and have the convenience of you taking out their cans. Now, you automatically, when they sign up for garbage collection, you provide 3 cans for each homeowner, or each renter? And what are those for? How are they
So
set aside?
the 3 carts will be, one will be for waste, one will be for recycling, and one will be for yard waste. So you can, if you clip the flowers, if you mow the lawn, you're able to put that in the yard waste bin. And so that's what the 3 or 4. We usually have a nice placard on top that kind of tells you what it
Which
is
one?
that,
Or a
that
different
can
color
go in.
lid.
And then we definitely have either a different colored card or a different colored lid, which tells you which one is your recycling, which one is your waste container. Yeah.
That's great. I know it's easy for us to have that, and you've got a great thing. My husband and I have a sunken garbage, 2 garbage cans, and so the man comes out of his vehicle and he walks down the hill, picks up the garbage in the cart, then he goes to the other 2 houses, and then up the hill he goes. So they're pretty sturdy. They're strong workers that you've got.
We do have strong workers. They do a great job, and they work hard. They work very hard. The day starts early. We'll have multiple what we call launches, but the workers can be in there 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And they'll go through. They have their huddles. They find out what's going on. They've got their route for the day, and off they go to run that route. And each truck has a electronic pad in it that now tells them exactly what their route is. So, and of course they're GPS controlled. And every time they service a home, they touch that home as having been serviced. That then becomes information that's readily available both to our dispatch center, to our call center, so they can take a look at those things and know what's going on out in the community at any given time. And if for some reason somebody is running slow on a particular day, we literally can take with those pads, you can literally take a section of that route and just kind of do a drag and drop, and the dispatcher can take that and give it to another driver who's in the area.
And you can do
so
a
eventually
backup.
then they go in and get that waste or recycling picked up.
We were talking about Beautify Bremerton, and I just want to go back. When you said you do other things in the community, you work with Don Larson, because Sinclair Inlet, we have divers that will go out and pick up things that our boaters come into the marina. We don't like them to, but oftentimes things drop over or get discarded, and you'll provide a container. I think that you've taken tons of material from each year that we do that Sinclair pick up from the divers. And then people that like to dive, you don't have to be a salvage diver. If you just like to be a scuba diver and you want to participate, that's one of these other things that we get that community involved. They bring it up, and then you have the container that hauls it away.
Yeah, it's, well, again, that's part of being that good community partner, and that really is what we want to be. And it's big and small things. That's kind of a bigger thing, but I know there was a homeless camp that needed some cleanup, and we provided the service there recently. And our workers got together here with the American Legion not too long ago, and they did a car wash. They were out there. They raised, I think it was $2,300 for the American Legion. I think company kicked a little cash into that as well. But that, again, that goes to help homeless vets. And so those are just some of the examples. We really like our folks to be involved in the communities that they serve. And they live in those communities. So they really, there's a lot of meaning to being involved.
And you have longtime employees. They stay for years because you're good to them. I went to when you were unveiling the CNG, the new trucks that are beautiful, and you have a new mechanism. Again, you're talking technology. So they can take, and they've got a mechanical arm. It saves your back and the hard work for those drivers, and can pick up, and it can do it faster. So you allowed some of our city councilmen to try that. It was great fun. You had all the mayors or city council people from all 4 cities, and you had Jesse Young from the legislature. He was there, and so it was a way for you to have a ribbon cutting, but we also had a meal with your employees. I think you do that on occasion or on a routine. What do you provide for your employees that make them or allow them to stay so long and so loyal to you?
Well, I think that it is being a good place to work. It's caring about them. It's working with them, not having hopefully not having a contentious relationship, if you will, a boss-employee type of relationship, but rather I think that teamwork that we were talking about before, and that the employees feel supported. We have got, I was talking with a couple of our workers over on the west side. They serve Kirkland. One fellow has been there 28 years.
Oh my gosh.
And he talked about, he was stopped by a young lady, teenager. He had been serving that family when she was born, and she ran out to greet him because she was headed off to college.
Oh my gosh.
And so she just wanted to, to tell him, how much he had meant to her as she was growing up. And I just, we hear those stories all the time. The other is that they will spot a lot of times. We've all left a wallet or a cup of coffee or something like that on the roof of our car. You would be surprised how much gets left on the top of a recycling or a garbage cart. Oh,
yeah.
Yes. And there was a young man here. It was a couple of years ago, but when he wasn't around, so we didn't know exactly. No one was at the house, so they brought the wallet back, found. Then went and looked in the wallet. Well, there was actually a significant amount of cash and a money order that was in it. And they got a hold of him. It turned out he had been working all sorts of different jobs, mowing lawns, doing all of that. He was earning money to take his girlfriend to the prom.
Oh.
And the prom was coming up. He had lost it.
His
He was
wallet.
panicked. He was so thrilled to get that back.
I
It was
bet.
just a really nice story.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
That's great. We have, we just had an employee picnic, and which we do annually. So we, along with the city council members, I cooked some hamburgers and hot dogs for them. But I'm bringing this up is because you and I have known each other since I was a county commissioner. You've served, this right now is your 4th term as a city council in Bellevue.
Yes.
And so you worked with our former mayor, Kerry Bozeman.
I did. I knew Kerry. Of course, he wasn't on the council at that point.
Right.
But we just did some. He's actually been in Bellevue a lot recently, in part because we were just finishing the downtown park.
And that's what he started.
Yes. And Kerry started that, and there's been just a small section of it that wasn't finished, and we were able to get that finished. Plus, the Rotary Club did a great fundraising effort, and we put in a brand new playground that's for children of all abilities.
We have a Beyond Accessible playground.
Yes, and so it's really it was great to see him. He had spent time there, and I know he's on the Port Commission.
Yes,
And,
he was elected last year.
Yeah.
So we have like contracts. So the city works with Waste Management, but the fees that are charged to our residents, you have a tremendous investment in what you're doing for clean air and taking care of the environment. Do you sometimes, or is this an old slogan, sanitary engineers? Is that what you call the driver or the?
It's an older term.
It's an older term,
but it goes back to the importance of this. It really is a public health issue. I mean, collection of garbage, having garbage, sit in one place, and people not throwing it away. I think it's one of the reasons that Bremerton is smart to have it be a mandatory city.
Yes.
I think that is, it's a really smart thing to do, and we've worked through that issue with the pay, and that's important to us.
Great.
But and it should be important to all of the people who are actually paying for the services as well. But it really is critical, and then also offering those other services. And the idea is to find a different a different use for what we're throwing away.
At-
And we always say,
Repurposing.
we see waste as a resource. And we were talking a little about landfilling. And some people, don't like the concept of landfilling. And, we need to do everything we can to get product out of there.
Correct.
But even within that, at, I believe it's 136 of our landfills around the country, we do landfill gas to energy. People don't know that we're one of the largest producers of renewable energy in the United States. And we do that with the waste that goes to Columbia Ridge. That gas is captured. It's turned into a natural gas, and that natural gas then runs turbines, which produce electricity, goes onto the grid.
The grid.
And in fact, Seattle City Light buys it back. They also send their waste to Columbia Ridge landfill. So Seattle City Light buys it back, and it kind of creates that circle of sustainability.
That is
It's a really
terrific.
nice story.
That is a nice
Yeah.
story. And you've been such a pleasure to have with us. I'm sure that you learned more than you wanted to about waste management, but all the good things that are happening with the things that you discard. So keep recycling, keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to have that best way for the future of our city and the partnership we have with you.
Great.
Thank you for being my guest, and thank you, audience. I'll see you next time with Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lent.